So I have a confession to make to start off the podcast.
Oh God, what is this going to be?
So I had honestly never heard of this movie before you had mentioned it as the next one we're doing.
That's a very sad thing to admit.
And then I had no idea until you showed me a trailer that it was a musical.
So this movie came out in
1986, the year I was born.
Yes, that's where I was going with this. So I guess we should probably say what movie we're talking about this week.
It's Little Shop of Horrors, which is a remake of a Broadway musical.
So you know it's a remake of a Broadway musical, but the musical part evaded you.
After the fact.
This is concerning.
I realized it was a Broadway musical after we had watched the movie and I'd done some research.
Okay, so with that lovely confession, I'm Shay.
I'm Tyler.
And this is Cinematically Correct. And this week we are talking about Little Shop of Horrors that Tyler apparently did not know existed, nor did he know had musical elements to it until how long ago?
2 days ago.
Oh, so great. So this is going to be a great podcast to talk to you about this movie. This really was up your alley, obviously.
I don't hate musicals. Why are you just saying, automatically assuming that I don't watch musicals?
Because it's one of the most iconic movies I can think of from our childhood.
From your childhood, not my childhood. My childhood was different movies, like Disney movies.
I watch Disney movies too. They're musicals.
Well, right.
They all go hand in hand. I mean, Alan Menken, You had to bring up Disney, so.
Well, he got his start here, and then he did Sausage Party.
Okay, he got his start here, then he did Disney, and then he took a break to do Sausage Party. Let's be perfectly clear.
All right, fair. So, yeah, I didn't realize that this was a hugely talented cast. I mean, Steve Martin, Rick Moranis, John Candy.
John Belushi?
Jim Belushi.
Yeah.
John Belushi died, I believe.
I keep saying John Belushi, so there's that.
Who else was in this?
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray. Just so many good actors.
So why don't you give a brief overview about what it was from a person who doesn't know anything about musicals or the movie?
So it's a musical about a alien Venus flytrap that is bent on destroying the world that eats human blood and body parts.
Right, so essentially the Santa Clarita Diet of 1986 minus the fact that it's a person you love that needs the blood and people, but rather a plant that you are using for fame and fortune. And
to keep your little small business afloat.
Right. But same premise, ideally.
Same premise that you're doing horrible things for good reasons. Doesn't discount the fact that they're horrible things.
Well, in both Santa Clarita Diet and Little Shop of Horrors decide to use people that have questionable morals for their sacrifices.
Yes. The Nazis in Santa Clarita Diet, and I had to mention Nazis. I do it every podcast. And then for this one, it was the wife-abusing dentist, or girlfriend-abusing dentist. So, horrible people that want to be eaten by either a person or plants.
Yeah, that's basically an overview of the movie. So, I mean, I'll admit that when I first saw the movie, I didn't remember or didn't catch on, I'm not really sure, to the fact that it was an alien. I just thought it was just like a plant that, I don't know, got possessed or something like that. But, the alien part kind of evaded me as a kid. But I don't know if I just missed the song I'm a Mean Green Mother from Outer Space or if it just wasn't clicking, or I'm not sure. I didn't remember that part. For you
on that, because, I mean, they show it shooting out of the sky in the opening when he's buying the plant and singing about it. They
show lightning coming down from the sky. I mean, it could have been the lightning, I don't know, imbued him with powers. Isn't that how superhero movies work?
Well, then he wouldn't have been murdered by electricity in that case if it was lightning.
Okay, well,
spoilers, the plant dies.
Well, I mean, depending on what ending you're going with, but okay.
Fair.
Okay.
So the
but
ending
if you want to talk about continuity. Continuity, thank you. I did, doing podcasts at 10 o'clock at night is poor for my vocabulary. But if you want to talk about that, I mean, there were parts of the movie where, like, I don't know, the gun that he shot off, 12 rounds for a gun that maybe had 6. So, I mean, I wasn't holding the movie accountable for every little piece when I was watching it. You know what I mean? Because it was accepted.
I mean, that's fair. They did have a lot of interesting scene choices.
Like?
Well, the opening credits, they have the people on the fence singing that look like zombies.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Which alluded to or foreshadowed the person-eating plant. True.
So did you possibly get a chance to look up how common zombie movies were back then? Because for me, I mean, 1986 is before I was born, just in case anybody wanted to know who was younger, that would be me. So that's before I was born.
Subtle dig. Nice.
No, I just wanted to make sure, for the benefit of our audience, that they were just aware.
Yeah, my gray hair in all of the promotional videos wasn't hint enough.
I mean, I just wanted to, I wanted to make sure I hammered that home. So I'm younger. So 1986 is before my time, so I wasn't 100% sure if zombie movies were super popular back then, because we're living in the era of The Walking Dead, where, of course, that's something that would stand out to us right away.
Well, I believe in the 80s, it was Return of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, so forth. There were a bunch of movies. I think the start of the zombie craze was the Night of the Living Dead in the 1960s, if I'm not mistaken. George Romero.
Oh yeah, I've seen that movie.
Well, it's a classic. It started the whole zombie thing, and zombies are awesome. So, I mean, I can't talk enough about zombies. We're going to have to do a zombie movie at one point because it's one of my favorite
28
horror.
Days Later.
Well, I own that movie, actually.
Okay, check mark.
Done. Sold. So, anyway, opening scene, there were zombies. I think that was foreshadowing.
The other thing that was in the opening scene was the singing girls, who I think each of their names I read somewhere was based on like a girls group, like they said like the Chantels or something like that, but there was like girls groups from the 60s that they were based on. But I think that they were a preliminary Hercules Three Muses, because Alan
absolutely.
Menken obviously was the composer for Disney movies, and these girls were definitely like reminiscent. Well, not reminiscent, but reminiscent for me because I watched it after the fact.
Well,
of
Disney totally stole that.
Well, I'm not 100% sure that Alan Menken did Hercules, but I'm pretty sure because he did most of Disney movies.
I'm not saying that Disney plagiarized. I'm just saying that it's very similar.
Right. But I'm not saying that.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you can take it how you will. There was also a weird woman in a skeleton sweater that was black and white and fuzzy.
You mentioned that not only when watching the movie, but also when watching deleted scenes. You were like, "Ooh, skeleton sweater!" You were so fascinated.
Well, it was a weird sweater to have in just the scene. I don't know why. I mean,
do I need to buy your skeleton sweater?
That would be awesome. I mean,
does it have to be a V-neck?
Stop. Really?
I just wanted to stick with your style.
Well, I could wear it to work then, if it was a V-neck.
Only on Halloween.
Well, I could wear it all the time. I mean, there's not really a dress code. There is, but as long as it's not a t-shirt, I'm good.
So, to any of the fans, if you're wondering what to send him, skeleton sweater is apparently the top of his list. So, donations are welcome.
So, I really don't know how they didn't get sued for the Star Wars intro.
Other movies do that, like Spaceballs.
Well, yeah, but Spaceballs is a parody of Star Wars.
Okay, but do you think they got permission?
I don't know, actually.
So...
I mean...
I wonder if there's somebody on this staff that was related to Star Wars. When did Star Wars come out? Prior to this, I have to assume.
70s, I believe.
Okay, so...
Well, I think you get a long-reaching fair use of things. So, I mean, that's just a generic opening. So, that's probably how they spun it.
Right.
Because it's scrolling text. You can't trademark scrolling text even if you want to.
But I mean, if we want to be honest, this movie, quote, quote, stole a lot of things. Like Danny Zuko in Steve Martin's character. I mean, they went so far as to take the dance move thing that he does and the hair flip and the lip thing that he does going on.
Well, I think that's just Steve Martin being a fantastic actor.
The dance move. Look, I mean, I'm gonna have to tweet like the Steve Martin dance move next to Danny Zuko, and you just tell me if you think they're at all different.
No,
because they're not.
They're very similar, if not the same.
Yeah,
it's outrageously similar.
So,
now, well, to be fair, Danny Zuko didn't beat his girlfriend, so I mean.
Well, I didn't say they stole the character, but they definitely stole a lot of mannerisms, and they weren't being shy about that.
No, I mean it's a musical, so that the musical part of Grease and the musical part of this kind of go hand in hand, and it's set in the same time periods, the 60s, the 60s.
And Grease only came out in 79, I think, so it was like...
Well, right, so this is everyone's idealistic image of what happened in the 60s with the bad boy biker, and that was what you thought of.
Right, and you showed me a song...
Leader of the Pack.
Leader of the Pack that looked like it was basically where Grease got their ideas from, and I guess that song influenced a lot of songs in this movie.
Yes.
Which is just too many connections in one.
There's a lot of connections because it's all going back to the girls that sing those, like the doo-wop and all of that. And you're not going to get me to do the Leader of the Pack impression. It's not going to happen.
Oh, come on.
No, never.
I mean, I'll do the doo-wop girls
no.
if you do Leader of the Pack.
It's never.
Not a fair trade.
There's no sum of money in the world that would get me to do it.
Okay, so list of things that you will never do that you will actually end up doing for the podcast. Eating a hot dog and singing Leader of the Pack.
Neither of those things is going to happen.
I'm just keeping a running list. It's not like because they're going to happen. But they're going to happen.
So, that woman's voice, can we just talk about that for a sec? Because, oh my
So
God.
Audrey's voice.
Audrey's voice. The blonde that her cleavage had more screen time than basically anything in the movie. I don't know if this was the time that the Wonder Bra was invented and this was a whole running ad campaign for them, but like it was, her cleavage was all over the screen to an obscene level.
Are we talking about her cleavage or her voice? Because now it's muddled.
Well, the voice was just insufferable. You needed the cleavage to make it tolerable. Because it was just awful.
So what was with the voice in that time period? Because I can't remember what her name was now, but the pink-haired girl in Grease had the same style voice.
Was it Rizzo?
No, pink-haired girl.
It's been so long.
I know, but she had the same style voice, and I can't figure it out because people don't actually talk like that, right?
No, the actress doesn't talk like that. And
well, you looked it up.
Yeah, I looked it up, and she does not speak with that weird, affected voice. It's an inexplicably horrible sounding voice.
So the girl from Grease that I was referring to is Frenchie. And her voice was definitely like that. Do you remember?
I do. It's been probably a decade since I've seen Grease, but yeah.
Right. So were they making a call to that, or was that like a popular voice back then?
I really don't have any explanation. It was so grating on my... It was just driving me crazy.
I mean, was it enough to not make you have sympathy for her with the situation she was in?
No, I still have sympathy for her being in an abusive relationship, but at the same time, it's like, lady, just no.
Yeah, her voice was...
You could find a better guy if you just shut your mouth. And that's not to say women should stop talking. That's women with that sounding voice. It was that bad.
It was. Okay, so you've talked about her. You talked about I talked about the three muses. What about Rick Moranis' character? Because he shows up right at the beginning as well.
Oh, Rick Moranis was fantastic in this. It was just... Yeah, I did not know Rick Moranis could sing. And he killed it.
So I will admit, when I first saw the movie, I assumed that everybody was lip singing, and the song was like being a track over them.
Lip syncing?
Lip syncing, yes. And that the song was kind of being played over them, because it looked like that, but what we found out was the reason that the lips weren't syncing up to the songs wasn't because the characters weren't singing, but because the puppet of the Venus flytrap was so hard to operate that they needed to slow down the characters' lips so that they could match up with the puppet.
Well,
So
right.
that's
So
why
they
it seemed
filmed.
out of sync.
Well, they filmed it in slow motion, so the characters had to sing, or at least pretend to sing in slow motion, and they sang afterwards, which is why the match up to the mouths is not always perfect, but it's close. It's a close approximation because they're doing it, but they're doing it at basically half speed, while the puppet is going in real time to make it look believable when they speed it up and go back to regular speed versus slow motion.
Right. But I mean, to me at the time, I'm like, oh, well, these people are clearly not singing. They're just actors. But now that I know, he's got an amazing... Does he sing in anything else?
I have no idea. He definitely doesn't sing in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
No, certainly does not. We should look up Rick Moranis singing movies and put that on the list if there's any others.
Well, he doesn't sing in... Does he sing in Little Giants? He might have a brief song, but maybe... I don't know. I don't think so.
But I mean, you said Rick Moranis no longer is an actor.
Well, he's a stand-up guy, so I guess his wife either died or something happened, and this is during the height of his acting career, and he gave up acting to be a father for his children, which I can't...
That's amazing.
I can't compliment him enough on that. Rick Moranis, if you listen to this, you're a fantastic human being. And
yes, because our reach is all the way to Rick Moranis.
Well, I think that's a fantastic example to set for the people that watch your movies. And good for you.
I like how you're looking at the computer screen as you're saying that, as if
I'm
he's
directing
right
it to Rick Moranis. Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
Yes, there's a Skype call with Rick Moranis, and he's actually just mute this whole time.
So it was the shittiest flower shop in a shitty neighborhood, but then after they started doing business, it was the nicest flower shop in the worst neighborhood ever.
Now, why have I heard Skid Row a million times before? Like,
it's just an eponymous word for a crappy neighborhood.
But is it popular in musicals or something? Or like maybe West Side Story or something? Because it sounded like something I'd heard sung before. Probably.
I mean, it is something that is just a term that people use to describe the crappy side of town.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you say the Skid Row of towns that you grew up in?
My apartment was on Skid Row before I moved into this house.
But have you ever said that? I don't think we use that, so I'm feeling like that's not where I heard it.
Well, I don't think it's really fair for either of us to use it because we didn't grow up on Skid Row.
Right, so what I'm saying is I wouldn't have heard it in natural dialogue, so I'm trying to figure out where I heard it.
It's probably a movie. I don't know which one, but it was probably a movie of some kind.
Thank you. You're so helpful. I'm so glad I asked you.
Anything to help. What was it? Steve Martin had dark hair in this movie, and this is the only movie where he was in the movie with Bill Murray. I had no idea that those two comedy geniuses had they've only been in one movie together.
Right, and they actually act like together. Which
is criminal.
Before we move on to Bill Murray and that whole thing, Steve Martin's hair, was it fake? Because...
It might have been dyed, but I'm sure at some point he had to have non-Snow White or gray hair.
Well, I wasn't really more concerned about the dye job, although, okay. But was it that long, like Danny Zuko length? Because it was pretty long.
Well, he probably grew it out for the movie, and they probably, I think if I remember, they used to put grease in the hair. Back in the day, that's where the term greasers comes from.
Really? Oh, yeah. Man, thanks so much for letting me know that. I never saw grease before, so...
Great. Now I can't come and have...
That's where the term greasers come from.
God, I'm just going to stop talking. I give up. I give up. Nope. We're done talking about that.
So, let's talk about Bill Murray then, because before you saw this movie... I made you watch Jack Nicholson's character from the 1960s version of this movie. Oh, I guess we should mention this is a remake. Who knew? Because I didn't.
It's a remake of a Broadway musical. So the original is a remake of a Broadway musical, this is a remake of that movie, which is a musical. It gets convoluted.
Right. But so anyways, the original Little Shop of Horrors movie was in, I think it was 1960, somewhere around there. In the 60s, let's just...
Sure, and Jack Nicholson looks young.
Right, and Jack Nicholson played Wilberforce, which is the comparable character to Bill Murray's character. I cannot remember what they called him in this version of Little Shop of Horrors.
No idea.
But it wasn't Wilberforce, it was something else. counts.
It was something completely different.
But they both played basically sadistic, I guess you could say.
Well, so it's a person that enjoys pain. So I don't know if that's a sadistic or a masochist. There's some weird distinction. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm not really into S&M, so whole... Yeah. But regardless, one or the other. But so he enjoys pain. So Jack Nicholson's version of it was really creepy. Like, I thought that would be horror movie. That was like...
It was definitely very creepy.
Laughing.
And unsettling and off-putting.
And that's okay. I'll just stand out here and I'll wait for them.
Dear God, don't stop now.
Yes.
Like, no, you're getting your teeth thrown out with Novocaine. No, just...
Yeah, he was terrifying. But then Bill Murray's version of the same character was more, I guess, comical. And I read that Bill Murray's version of the character had no written lines. It was all improv. Well,
so for when he's with Steve Martin's character, the dentist, that's all off the cuff and he's riffing. But in the waiting room, I guess they had some minimal lines. But then it's just him talking and going and saying random nonsensical things half the time. And apparently it was a huge pain in the ass for the director to cut it all together because it was like 40 minutes of just trying to figure out which pieces to put in and playing Sophie's Choice with all the different cuts that he had given in. And that's what they came up with, which was good. I still like Jack Nicholson's version better, just because he was more off-putting.
Yeah, I mean... Because of that one scene that I saw, I'm curious to see the rest of the movie, but from what I've read, that was the only good part of that movie. So, I'm not really sure, but that was apparently one of Jack Nicholson's first decent roles. Like, he had other roles, but that one was the one with the most verbose lines and things.
That's probably directly responsible for him getting the role as Joker in Batman.
It could be.
Because he was really creepy.
Yeah, it could be. So, I mean, I didn't even know Jack Nicholson was a part of this movie. I only even found that out because I was doing a Google search and Jack Nicholson's name popped up in next to Little Shop of Horrors and I'm like, ooh, what does this mean? So, anyways, so you liked Jack Nicholson's version better. So Steve Martin's character, did you like the other version better? Or Steve Martin's character?
So that's weird because we saw more of Steve Martin's character in this movie rather than the one scene. And the dentist in the first one was kind of just...
passive.
Whatever, it's just a dentist. I mean, there were some off-key lines where he said the guy went out the back when he probably got...
I liked that line. He went out the back door. I'm like, that means murder, right?
Pretty sure. Yes. But Steve Martin has some impressive scenes where he's up high on laughing gas and he's just laughing for 5 minutes straight. You know how hard it is to convincingly laugh when you're not actually laughing?
Yeah, what did you think about the fact that Steve Martin's character was carrying around like a vial of nitrous oxide and snorting it as if it was Coke?
Well, it's basically an inhaler with laughing gas.
That he was shoving up his nostril.
Well, that's how you inhale things.
But people don't actually inhale laughing gas, do they? That's not a thing.
Well, you can to get high.
People do it?
Yeah, that's...
I'm so not down with the hip street things.
Have you ever heard of whippets? Like the people snorting the stuff from a...
Have we met? Would I have heard of whippets?
Well, so it's the stuff, the compressed gas in that for whipped cream is, I think, nitrous oxide or something similar, which will get you high. So
you put whipped cream up your nose?
Well, no, you don't put it upside down. You just hold it this way to just release the gas. So I've been told. I've never actually done it. But yeah, you can get high off laughing gas.
Oh. The more you know.
Yes. I would say that the craziest scene is when she gets on the motorcycle side saddle, because I can't for the life of me figure out how you can...
Well, so have you ever ridden a motorcycle? Let's start there.
I have not. I've ridden a bicycle, but that doesn't count.
No, that does not count. I've only ridden on the back of a motorcycle before.
Would you ever ride side saddle?
So I've heard that you can. So I used to be friends with a bunch of bikers. And from what I was told, if you're wearing a dress, it's more comfortable to ride on the side. Now, I've never done it, so I don't know. But because, I think you can imagine putting a dress and draping it and whatever, that's probably not kosher.
Well, the wind, I would imagine, is going to cause some problems.
Right. So, when I rode a motorcycle, I made sure I always wore pants. Like, I was, planned ahead that way. But, I heard that if you're wearing a dress, side saddle is the way to go. But I feel like it'd be really hard to, like, balance because your center of gravity is tilted. But she did, though, fall off the bike, didn't she?
She did fall off in the scene, and then he gets mad at her as she's running behind him. He's dropping her off, and she's running behind because he left her to just kept driving his motorcycle, and then he's mad at her for falling off the motorcycle.
Right. So we've talked for like 25 minutes about all of the characters, but we never talked about the plant.
Okay. Plant was evil. I mean...
The plant was evil. Did the mean green mother give that away? Or the eating of people? Evil just was such a quick jump to make.
I mean, it was a plant that ate people.
Now, what did you think the plant looked like?
It definitely looked like a penis.
Okay. I just wanted to know that
the plant definitely looked like a penis. Okay. I'm sorry.
I didn't know that yours was that large.
I did not say that. But did you see American Vandal? Because those characters of penises are those.
But what about the ball hair? There's no ball hair here.
The leaves were the ball hair.
Okay. You really thought this out. You've been thinking about penises for 2 days now.
Well, yeah. When do I not think about that? I mean...
I only thought it was Tom Brady's penis. Now I'm learning so much.
Stop. It's none of them.
Okay,
yes.
So he was evil.
And it is actually kind of a shame. I like the alternate ending, which is the original ending.
Oh, okay,
where the plant takes over the world and kills all humankind.
And basically is Godzilla?
Basically Godzilla. And then also Audrey and Seymour both get eaten by the plant.
As opposed to, what's the actual ending?
Where Rick Moranis gets buried under a bunch of rubble, heroically grabs a electric cable of some kind and electrocutes the plant into exploding.
And Audrey and him run away together.
And get married.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there is a baby plant out front with a little smile on his face.
Which doesn't make sense to me because they can literally just not feed him at all. Where's he going to get human body parts in their garden unless they feed him?
I guess. Or like maybe like passerbys feed him. You don't know. But regardless, I will say that I like the alternate ending better if it was shorter. There was too much like going through the checkout lines and seeing all the plants being bought and then the whole Godzilla thing and there's all of the destruction. Like if they could just cut it down a bit. But
I suppose that's fair. I liked the people unwittingly causing their own destruction. It's kind of a nice ironic twist.
So before we forget to mention this, I know we mentioned Alan Menken before, but we didn't mention that the song "Somewhere That's Green" was the inspiration essentially for Little Mermaids. Want to be part of that world, and if you listen to "Somewhere That's Green" thinking of that, you first of all you'll never stop singing part of this world. It's just gonna keep replaying in your head.
Yes, it is.
But it sounds so similar, and in that sequence when she's singing the song, she also has that little birdie pop up on the screen, like the cartoon birdie. That is exactly like what happens in Snow White's "A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes."
Yes.
So, I mean,
Lots
Disney
of
is
Disney
all up
themes.
in this.
Oh yes.
So how Disney hasn't remade it, I don't know, but I did hear a remake is in the talks.
Really?
With Rebel Wilson playing Audrey. I held that back so you would hear that on the podcast because
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, me neither.
Is she gonna do the voice? Because God help us.
Well, is her boobs gonna be hanging out like that?
Well, I mean, God willing.
Nope. I'm gonna.
I have a couple last minute things. I mean, we didn't talk about Mr. Mushkin, the owner of the flower shop, and he had the most appropriate and actual real life name for this movie. His name is Vincent Gardenia, and a gardenia is actually a plant. It's a flower.
And he said he thought he got the role because the director liked his name.
Well, exactly. Because his last name is literally a plant.
Which is very appropriate. But I mean, as a character, there wasn't much to him. He was just kind of...
He was just an extra character.
One-dimensional.
Exactly. The other thing, for the set, which was filthy, they did a fantastic job of making Skid Row look terrible. Apparently, one of the set directors was having a hard time finding trash cans that would fit. the aesthetic of being beat up and crappy. So they bought new trash cans, and they actually went around to people and traded new trash cans for old trash cans for the movie. And people are like, sure, yeah, but what's the catch? I mean, you're taking my crappy, dirty trash can and you're giving a brand new one. What? I don't understand.
That's amazing.
So I
we need to try that. We need to just walk around and be like, I'll trade you. I got a brand new one. Can I have your crappy one? And see if people would just probably look at us and be like, there's a bomb in there. Not taking it. What's
going to be weird? I want to shout out, if anyone can find the game that they made for this from this movie, there's a game where you can actually throw marbles or something into the plant, and I desperately want to play that game.
It's called Feed Me by Milton Bradley.
It's impossible to find.
I've searched everywhere. I've put requests out on yard sales. It's impossible to find. But I realize we're low on time, but I promised I would do the audience ask section, so I'm not going to not do it. So Chris Stonehouse asks, do dentists really have a talent for causing things pain? So I guess we'll start with you on that one.
So I actually happen to love my my dentist. I haven't been in a while. I should probably schedule an appointment now that you mention it. But I also never get him because it's a big dental practice, and there's this one dentist in there. I don't remember their name, but they're god awful, and I always get them, and it's just so bad. I leave spitting up blood. It's like I went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. It's bad.
So, was that a yes or a no? Because that wasn't clear.
It depends on the person, but if you're anything like me, then yes. Yeah. Sadly.
So, for me, I mean, I hate dentists to begin with. I have gum issues galore, so my gums always hurt when I leave the dentist. But I've actually found a dentist who's super good, and usually they do their best to not, cause a lot of pain. But I have found, my child dentist enjoyed causing pain so much. It made him laugh. So...
like the character from this movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess probably most of the time, yes, would be the answer to that question.
You don't become a dentist without a little bit of sadism in you, I feel. And I'm maligning all kinds of dentists. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so all dentists in the podcast have now dropped off. Thank you very much. So finally, I did want to give a quick shout out. The TDMR podcast gave us a review on March 13th because, we're super behind. But they said, awesome show. I'd love to see this podcast grow. They also reviewed us on their podcast back when we had terrible audio. So the fact that they left a review at all is really kind of them because our audio was so bad and there was echo, and they were so kind about it on the podcast, but they did nudgingly let us know that our audio was god-awful.
We have been working on it. It has, I think, been noticeably better, but please, by all means, let us know.
Except for right now when you can hear humming noises because of the speaker.
Well, yeah, my bad. We have been trying to not have the speakers on, but I forgot.
Yeah.
For the last 2 minutes. Whoops.
Yeah. So we're working on it, but there are a few technical difficulties that we're trying to work out. One of which is being that our speaker cannot be on at the same time as our microphone. So, one step at a time. But anyways, so that is our podcast for this week. I guess we should do an overall rating.
I would say 8 out of 10.
Wow, for a musical, I am impressed. I think I would give it probably an 8.5 just because of all the references that I didn't realize 80s movies really did that many references. And the fact that it was a lot of Disney-esque things that I didn't remember. So, the Disney side of me loved that. But yes, so what are we doing next week?
Next week is The Social Network, which is the story about Facebook.
Right. So we basically changed our entire schedule for podcasts because we have scheduled these out for beyond our lives, basically. So we changed our entire schedule around based on the Mark Zuckerberg trial.
Senate testimony. He's not on trial. He's giving testimony in front of the Senate.
Whatever you want to call it. So anyways, we changed it around so that we could talk about that and be a little bit more timely.
And also another movie related to Boston, oddly enough.
Okay, well, we didn't change it around for that,
well,
but,
no,
you know, such is life.
All right, well, you also have to thank...
Right, so I wanted to give one more thank you to Jake at Athos Music for our intro and outro music, and, of course, thank you guys for listening.